So I want to say I had a little bit of technical difficulties for this video. So yeah, you'll see how it's about to go. But please, thank you. Just stick around, listen, and just enjoy the audio. What three things make a man and a woman? All right, so welcome back to a long journey. So usually I call this show Talks with Scotty, but I decided to change the name to Ask Scotty. Basically, you can ask me a question, or it's just really me just asking questions. That's all it is. But as you can see, we did start off with the first question. What three things make a man and a woman? But before we actually get into the meat and potatoes, or the tomatoes and the potatoes, whatever you want to call it, I will let these two introduce themselves and just, if y'all want to give a brief summary on who you are or whatever, say where you from, whatever, y'all can do that. So who want to go first?
Ladies.
My name is Diamond or Dia. I'm from like Southern Virginia, so like the country, and yeah, nothing special.
Well, short and simple. I'm Leandro. Originally from Minnesota. Outside of that, yeah, I ain't got much going on. I'm about to get out of the military soon. I'm happy about that. That's it.
Okay. And you know it's me, Scotty too hottie, Scotty with the body, Scotty with the shotty. Whatever you want to call me, it doesn't matter. But yeah, let's get back into it. What do y'all think are three things that make a man, and what makes a woman? What three things? Characteristics, whatever. If you want to go deep into anatomy, like y'all said at first, go to it. I just want to say how this is about to go. But look, before we started, just know each thing takes.
Yeah.
We gotta cut that part out. But each question should at least take 15 minutes, okay? So we'll start it. 3, 2, 1. We're gonna start now.
You can go ahead and go first.
Oh, okay. So 3 things. I think compassion, nurturing, and values. So I think those 3 things will make what makes a woman. But yeah. You want me to go in details of why?
Yeah, I was gonna ask why. She'd ask why.
Yeah.
Oh, well, what do you think? Why do those reasons make a good woman?
Just a simple. Well, for me, just a breakdown of women, like the nurturing aspect of it. I know not everybody want to be mothers or can be mothers, but just the simple breakdown of that. I think values, just because just the way the society is and just life in general. Just having some kind of values, and set yourself apart. Mm-hmm. And then compassion. I think everybody should have some kind of compassion in that sense. But it's just a simple human being nature. If somebody's compassionate about something, it gives them, I guess, a good vibes. I guess, I don't know.
Nice, good answer though.
Yeah.
The 3 things I think make a good man are emotional stability and vulnerability and drive, like passion. Mm-hmm. I would say emotional stability, because I guess men are expected to be protectors, and they're expected to have a lot on their plate at all times. So I feel like having that emotional stability to be able to make sure you're okay first, and then be able to like help other people, because I feel like that's important. You can't really, help somebody else with something if you got your own stuff going on. Vulnerability, I feel like it's hard to be able to have that emotional stability if you're not able to be vulnerable. If you're always having your guard up, it's hard to be able to let people in. So when somebody else wants to take the baton, so you're not like dealing with stuff all the time. Yeah. I feel like it's important that you're able to be vulnerable in that moment. And then I would say drive and passion. I've heard a lot of people say it too, that like men they always go after something, and they want something that they want to strive for, something that's going to keep them pushing. So I feel like having something that's keeping you going and keeping your mind focused on what's next, and not just staying in a mindset of being content where you are. Not saying you can't ever be happy, but I would definitely say finding something that keeps you from being stagnant. Mm-hmm. Those are my 3.
Okay. So, Joe, I want to go back to what you said. You said values, right?
Yeah.
So, does social media play a role when it comes to values for women?
Does it play a role? Yeah, in today's generation, for sure. Um, I think they get confused from what people are posting. You know, people post what they feel their life should be like compared to like what they're actually living. So it does play a big role because it confuses some of the people who don't understand that, and they live off the values of these celebrities, whoever somebody they look up to on social media is that's like posting certain things or how to act a certain way or how to treat people a certain way. Um, but values alone, just long as they have their own values and stand for that, you shouldn't. You're always going to be persuaded, but it holds a line over how much you get persuaded because your values mean more to you than just like trying to keep up with the crowd. So that's why I said values because of that.
So, Diamond, and then I want to go back off what you said. You said vulnerability. That's how you pronounce it, right? How you say it? All right, good. So when you say that, so like what I think in a way is like, so being vulnerable is like, it's having more like like a man should be like more in tune to his emotions. Like, am I mixing up or no?
So I feel like yes, it's being more in tune with your emotions, but it's also just understanding that it's okay to feel a certain way. Like you don't always have to be tough, you don't always have to be strong. So having that understanding that it's not always expected of you and being able to allow yourself to feel and allow yourself to act to things around you, because it's really hard for people in general to just exist and then act like things around them, like life isn't happening. So I feel like when you're able to have that moment of vulnerability and have that moment to just like take in what's going on around you, it changes you and it allows you to have emotional stability, because it's hard to like completely ignore things and act like you're okay, you know what I mean, regardless if you're a man or a woman, but being able to be vulnerable is really important.
I definitely agree with that, and that's why one of the things I put is nurturing for the aspect because, and I wouldn't speak too much for in general with stigma or fear or I don't know if I'm using the right words, but for a man to be vulnerable, the woman has to be nurturing of that because vulnerability can come from different forms. It's not always just like, hey, I'm feeling sad about this. Vulnerability can be a man showing his emotions differently. Like emotional stability, people confuse that being in a society that we're taught to carry ourselves a certain way. So 9 times out of 10, as men or as people in general, we're going to react how we act as we're kids. A little kid get mad, what do? They throw tantrum. They get mad, they start doing certain things, and so typically when we're as men are not taught about to control our emotions in that aspect, you see that without a nurturing woman, you're not going to go there and understand like this is a vulnerable moment for him. He threw a tantrum. He's 23 years old. What is he doing? Like, oh, you're too grown for this. Compared to a nurturing person will understand that, come and give that person what they want, which would create the vulnerability for the man.
Right.
Where he's like, oh, I can trust you because you look past what I did. You look past of my reaction because of the way I was brought up or anything. So I think it goes hand in hand with that. So that's what I naturally go with.
Yeah, I agree for sure. I know it's like hard to be vulnerable when you have somebody who's not willing to accept that. You know what I mean? You don't. So I feel like when you're saying someone who's nurturing, it really does go hand in hand. Like it's hard to be vulnerable around somebody who isn't receptive to that. So that's really good.
You know, some else I think about too in a way is like just for me to be vulnerable with you or just to really express my emotions and how I feel is more about just building that trust. Trust. I feel like trust do play a big role in that, and that's something else I was gonna ask. Like, how do you know when you trust somebody just to actually be like vulnerable to them? Cause sometimes I like to say too, like as soon as I open up, like that motherfucker, my bad, I didn't even say that, but that person do leave. You're like, damn, like I told him this, I told him this and that. Then you like, oh. So is something like that? Can you actually regret that or not?
Yeah, I would say be comfortable with yourself. I have a big thing on that. So I come from a like being open in a way, but also sort of reserved. So I have had people I had to open up to like my vulnerability, and they have left, and I felt bad about it. So then I'm like, I'm gonna lock down for the next person. I'm gonna lock down for the next set of friends or the next group of whatever I'm doing. But now being at where I'm at in life, I understand that vulnerability is okay. It's okay with me, even if society's not 100% accepting it. as long as I'm okay with it, I can be vulnerable to you. Next day, you blabbing, doing whatever you're doing, it's all good. It's whatever. I'm still gonna have that understanding, that guarding of myself.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still gonna be vulnerable with people, but at the same time, you don't want to give up too much personal details. You don't want to be like open floodgates with people.
Right.
So you want to be able to have some type of privacy, but the vulnerability aspect is just a confidence of yourself. If you're comfortable with sharing it, share it. It's your business. But if you're not comfortable with sharing it, keep it within.
Mm-hmm.
And when you get those deep moments, like you got those best friends, you're like, man, I never told this person this, but I told my best friend.
Mm-hmm.
Those comes with time because you just don't meet somebody and be like, you're my best friend.
Right,
You know,
right.
you build that. You build that over time with them showing you that they're there for you over and over. Whatever you take to get the trust. Some people find trust just by the connection they feel with somebody. For me, people got to show me over and over and be there and show me that they're a person. Then I'll start like giving them that vulnerability.
Right.
And then after a certain point, then I can be like open. And then depending on how they take it, I might pull it back because sometimes you can be vulnerable with people and they don't want to take it. And you're just like, you can't fault them because everybody's different. But yeah.
Yeah, I agree for sure. I know you were asking about trust. Can you ask the question again?
It's basically like, can you like, how much like, just when you be vulnerable with you. How I say it again?
I think you said it was something like, how do you know if you trust someone?
Yeah, like first you gotta trust. I feel like trust plays a big role when it comes. I think it plays a big role with anybody when it comes to being vulnerable. Because at the end of the day, like I said, like damn, I don't know, like it takes a while.
Yeah. I feel like for trust, it's definitely earned. You know, same thing with respect. But I feel like for trust, it's kind of like you got to give somebody a little bit at a time.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, and then like kind of just see what their reaction is and how they respond to that. I feel like if you try to like give somebody a big situation and then expect them to trust them to be able to respond a certain way or react a certain way, and then they don't, it's kind of like you take it all back. So I feel like trusting somebody with something small and then like gradually increasing it is different versus like, you know, just throwing something at somebody and then trying to expect them to respond in a way that's acceptable to you when they haven't been able to see this situation for you before. So like say, you know, something crazy happened and you explain this to them and it's like their first time hearing, you know, something crazy about you. So you're like taking that, you know what I mean? Yeah. So I feel like if you're able to give somebody a little bit at a time, it's an easier way to build trust. Also, I was listening to this podcast and they were talking about like trust is like a ladder, right? And when you're getting on a ladder, you know, you're first getting on it, you put your one foot on at a time. And as you're getting up there, you're trusting that ladder is going to hold you up while you're going up the ladder. And let that ladder fall like one time and you're not getting back up there, you know what I mean? So I feel like sometimes trust is risky, but it's necessary, you know what I mean? Because if you can't trust anybody, then like, you know, you don't have anybody to depend on and you don't have those people that around to be vulnerable with. So
I definitely agree. Point that you hit on that one, people will be like, oh, you got to earn my respect. You got to earn my trust.
Right.
But they don't give any.
Right.
And so it's a good point that you said you got to give a little bit. Because, like, I don't know you from Liquor Squad. Like, at what point are we going to get to the point to trust each other if you're not giving any?
Right.
Or the respect aspect. If you're not giving no respect off jump, why should I give in? So, but it just goes back to that ladder situation. You're going to take your first step. And that's giving a trust. Take the first step. Ladder doesn't wobble. Same thing with respect. You give in to a little bit of it and you just keep climbing up and see where it goes from there. Don't just thinking you're just going to end up at the top of the ladder already. Like, oh, I trust you all my stuff. Like, you don't do that because, yeah, but I like that. That's what's up.
All right. So this last thing, we're coming up on that little 2-minute mark, just in like the first question. So I really like what she said. Jerome, I'm going to get your point of view on it. So basically being goal oriented, basically having like the mindset. So as a man, young man, whatever, how important is to have goals?
It's important for everybody in today's world, I believe. But as a man, for sure. Because if we're going to stick to the old school stigma of what a man is to do is to provide and protect. So you cannot provide if you don't like have goals to get you there to provide. You're not just going to wake up and just, unless you're born that way, but you're not going to wake up and be able to provide for somebody. So goals, even just simply every day, set your goals. But I think goals are very important. It gives you a stepping stone of where you're at and where you came from. I can't remember the saying now, but you don't know how far you went until you know where you came from in that sense. So if you set those goals, you can actually know the steps you're taking. It's just like the memes and stories you see about the person digging for a diamond, and the other person turns around right before the diamond, before he's about to hit the diamond, but the other person on the bottom was digging and just kept going, and then he reached the diamond, but the person quit right before he got that. I feel like that person didn't have a goal. Every day I'm gonna dig for 2 hours. Every day I'm gonna dig for 2 hours. I'm gonna do it for 6 months, and then that way, in 6 months, if you don't get anything, then you have an idea, you have a plan set forth for that. Compared to somebody else who had that goal, like every day I'm gonna dig for 2 hours for 6 months. If it doesn't work, I'm gonna go find somewhere else to go, or I reassess this goal and see how far I'm gonna go, and because I know that diamond's at the end of this. With people with goals, you can continue that. So when you falter, when you like fall off from where you think you're going, you can look back and see the mistakes you made from the goals you set and readjust those, compared to just somebody just going out and winging it. Then you got to go back and set back, oh, what did I do wrong? You can make a lot more mistakes without having that path set up for you.
I like what you said, especially when you said that when you're, you're consistent with your goals. I feel like consistency is really important when it comes to goals, because I know you were given the analogy about the guys mining, and I feel like it's really hard to try to expect something and you're not consistent with it. Like, you won't know unless you're, consistent with whatever you're trying to achieve. So like being consistent in trying to reach something or trying to get somewhere will definitely help with trying to reach a goal, I feel.
Now, let me ask you this. You better get this last minute. I might make this question quick, all right?
All right.
Would you talk to a man who does not have goals? But if you could try to fix it, would you work on it or no?
So here's my thing. I feel this is the way I was brought up. My dad always told me that a man who doesn't have goals doesn't have a destination that he's trying to get to. And if you're following him, then you're following him into the unknown. And I'm not willing to, like, that's just how I am. I feel like for me, like, growing up and understanding myself and understanding, like, just, I guess, getting to that place of, like, mental stability and feeling like you're able to express yourself and understand yourself, I'm not willing to risk my progress because you don't know where you're going. You know what I'm saying? So I'll help you outside of being in a relationship with you. I'll, like, kind of, like, look, like, to it as a friend. You know what I mean? I'll help you, like, okay, this is where you should start at, but I'm not going to blindly follow someone and trust them if they haven't shown me any reason to. You know what I mean? So that's how I feel. Perfect.
And that's it for the first. That's it for the.
Okay, pardon me. I don't wanna